I'm Kevin Rivera, and I'm sure we all have a decent understanding of how laws are supposed to work. They are implemented to benefit society and to protect people from others and or themselves. But in some instances, laws can actually be detrimental to a society. Alcohol has been a substance that the U.S. struggles to regulate. The first big incident with the regulation of alcohol was Prohibition in 1920, which was the banning of all alcohol, and it only lasted about 13 years. It failed, and the last big regulation of alcohol was in 1984, the MLDA, minimum legal drinking age, which was raised to 21. After Prohibition, the MLDA has failed, and unfortunately, the MLDA has created many problems, especially for those who are underage. My proposition is that the MLDA is ineffective and is detrimental to a society. The drinking age limit is ineffective and does not do its job in stopping underage drinking. As a college student, I'm 100% confident in saying that we all know someone who is underage and drinks. And according to the national survey taken in 2016 by the CDC on drug use and health, 90% of the youth between the ages of 12 and 20 drink alcohol, and 12% reported binge drinking in the past 30 days. That's 1 in 5 people between the ages of 12 and 20 admitting to drinking. This was a survey, so I'm positive many people lied about drinking and said otherwise. And these are not unreasonable numbers. As a freshman in high school, I knew many of my fellow classmates that would go out every weekend and get drunk. A big reason why there are so many underage drinkers is because it is difficult for the cops to enforce the MLDA. Westword.com covered a 60-minute segment that involved Boulder Chief of Police Mark Beckner, who was quoted stating, "We're not in the best position to stop underage drinking. The best we can do is to try and contain it." He said this after the Boulder Police Department attempted many raids on frat parties at Colorado University. So even with their best efforts, they failed. The drinking age limit almost means nothing. Anyone who is underage and who wants to drink, drinks. It's as simple as that. They just can't buy alcohol or drink publicly, but it's still extremely accessible. Now, because of the laws in place, underage drinkers are put in positions to develop bad drinking habits. Ruth Clifford Ames is an applied health science professor for Indiana University, and she wrote a paper that advocated for the legal drinking age to be lowered, and it is titled Forbidden Fruit. Reading through the paper, I found something interesting that she wrote. She states, although the legal purchasing age is 21, a majority of college students under this age consume alcohol, certainly not a surprise to anyone. When they have the opportunity to drink, they do so in an irresponsible manner because drinking by this youth is seen as an enticing, forbidden fruit, a badge of rebellion against authority, and a symbol of adulthood. I don't agree that teens drink because they want to be rebellious, but I do believe they drink irresponsibly. Life as a teen is hard, whether it is because of hormones, school, sports, dating, expectations, etc. Some teens drink to get away, to not have to think about their problems, and some just drink to have a good time. Obviously, these reasons do not make it right for underage drinkers to drink. Unfortunately, underage drinkers tend to develop bad drinking habits. According to the CDC, more than 90% of alcohol consumed by those under the age of 21 is consumed by binge drinking. Binge drinking is when you consume too much alcohol at once, and not only is that unhealthy, but you also get drunk. For some, that's the point. But getting drunk is usually never a good thing. A big issue among the college campus is pre-gaming. Because a big portion of the college campus population is underage, many choose to pre-game, essentially binge drink before the event. An article from the Harvard Crimson sums it up perfectly. This focus on law enforcement comes at the cost of underage student safety, since, quite simply, a ban on private alcohol does not mean that underage drinking will not happen. Instead, drinking will be shifted towards to premium binges, in the privacy of student dorms, where underage revelers will likely imbibe as much as they deem necessary to keep them merry throughout the game. Imbibe essentially means to drink alcohol. These are bad habits that are created because these students are not allowed to drink in public areas, have to do it secretly, which leads to irresponsible drinking. This is a perfect example of MLDA creating a problem instead of solving one. Unfortunately, underage drinkers have no choice but to imbibe privately. This is problematic because it forces them to drink in places where there is no supervision, and with teens under the influence, bad things are bound to happen. Underage students aren't allowed to drink at clubs, bars, or any other public area where there is supervision or at least someone in position to tell you enough is enough. It is already well established that underage drinkers tend to binge drink. And we all know the side effects of alcohol and how it affects motor skills and decision making, as well as leaving some vulnerable. Sadly, people tend to take advantage of the vulnerable, especially when they themselves are drunk. And according to the Cal Poly St. Luke's Obispo Health and Counseling Services, roughly 90% of all reported rapes and sexual assaults occur when alcohol has been used by either the attacker or the victim. 55% of females and 75% of males involved in acquaintance rapes admitted to using alcohol prior to the incident. Rape isn't the only incident that occurs when alcohol is involved. Hazing is considered an initiation, but in reality, it's just a nice way of saying physical abuse. Now, when you mix in alcohol, hazing can become much more violent and dangerous. When people are drunk, they tend to cross the lines more often than not. Especially when there's no supervision around, hazing can be unfortunately fatal. And according to the University of Maryland's Division of Student Affairs, 82% of all hazing deaths involve alcohol. No matter if alcohol is consumed or not, rape and hazing shouldn't happen. It would be ignorant to state that alcohol did not play any part in these situations. The numbers support that alcohol highly correlates with these incidents, and because of the MLDA, these incidents will sadly continue to happen. And because underage drinkers are forced to drink privately, where there is no supervision, and the majority of people are drunk. At the end of the day, if you believe you are old enough to drink, then you should be old enough to understand limitations, as well as understanding you need to drink responsibly. But the fact of the matter is, not many people drink responsibly, regardless if they know the limits. It is also unrealistic to expect everyone to be responsible and to be held accountable. This is exactly why laws are created. But laws are usually enforced, unlike the MLDA, which fails to fulfill its purpose and is detrimental to our society, which in turn has a significant negative effect on those who are underage.
Okay, well, Kevin, we've got a clear propositional statement, no real preview of what the supporting structure is going to be, and some inconsistency on the organization as a consequence. So those would be the things that I'd be most worried about and things that you want to work on the most next time. Now, I can kind of see how some of the arguments are being strung together, but as a listener, I think it helps to have a plan or a path laid out for us, one that's a little bit easier to follow, and I think that that's problematic, especially when you get to the later half of the presentation where you talk about problems that are associated with alcohol consumption, but now those problems are not related to the alcohol consumption that's created by the MLDA, but just to consumption of alcohol. So why are they reasons why the MLDA is the source of the problem? You need to connect it to the so-called binge drinking that is created by the MLDA. That's the link in your argument. And like I said, on that whole last set of points concerning, drinking in private, hazing, sexual assaults, all those things, I didn't see any connection to the binge drinking kind of issue that you're talking about. You need to explain how that is connected, and I don't think that part was as clear. The idea that there is a change in the way people drink because of the prohibition underage, Dr. Ings, I've been hearing for a number of years, and I do think that you need to cite the source. Some of that material is a little old, and so you do need to maybe address some of the more recent information on this, and I think that there's some good data on that would probably help you in this position. Access to alcohol, you mentioned 90% have consumed alcohol. That doesn't necessarily say that 90% of them consume it on a regular basis, but 12% did binge drink when they did consume alcohol, so you're kind of affiliating those sorts of things. We don't really have any comparative data that suggests that binge drinking is lower in places where the drinking age is lower. That would have been the thing I think would have been strongest in supporting that particular point for your argument. The explanation of pre-gaming and all that sort of thing, I understand what's going on there. And I think there's some cultural arguments that are being assumed here. I have to be honest with you. I don't have a lot of confidence that the amount of drinking would change by college students if it was suddenly legal for them to drink. The idea that they wouldn't be, going out and getting tossed before going to the football game or whatever it is. Yeah, I'm not sure I buy into that. You know, I understand the theory behind the, oh, we got to get really sloshed before we go out in public, that kind of thing. It doesn't matter to me if you're drunk because you were drinking in the dorm or you're drunk because you were out at the party in the middle of the quad. You're still drunk, so what difference does that make? I think there needs to be a stronger argument on that point. But I thought that you found some good arguments. I thought especially in the first part of the presentation. Now, I don't mean to, because we aren't doing public speaking per se, but you have a couple of things that you need to work on for your presentation. First of all, you need to slow down a little bit. You have a tendency to rush things, and you need to speak up a little bit more, and you're reading a lot. And when you start reading, that's one of the reasons that you rush, because you are kind of getting through the sentences and going to the next word. You need to pace yourself and talk to us a little bit more. And I think that I think you've got good information in here, and I like the way the arguments are going, at least in the first 2/3 of the argument. But you undermined the presentation a little bit by just trying to get to the end. And I know you've got a lot to cover. That's another reason that you're going fast. But talk to us a little bit more, read to us a lot less. Okay, thank you.